Thank you. Welcome
No,
all. Very good evening to one and all who is attending the webinar now. And I'm going to share my screen. Please raise a hand on chat message so that you are able to see it. Okay. Team, are you able to see the screen that I have showcased on my laptop? You are able to see that?
yeah, I'm able to see it, Jashri.
Perfect. Okay. So now let me go ahead with that. So, okay. So today we are here at Sankalpa's webinar open house session. And I would like to give you a brief about what Agastya Gurukulam is and what is that we are doing in Sankalpa and what is that Manthan Vidyashram is partnering with Agastya Gurukulam to conduct this Sankalpa in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So initially, okay, Agastya Gurukulam has been offering traditional courses to kids over the last couple of years. And we have successfully conducted camps in the last 2 years at Pondicherry and also at Bangalore. And this year we are conducting the same at Sankalpa, the camp name is, and we are conducting it at Chinmaya Mission, Tiruvallur, which is located in Chennai, Tamil Nadu again. And Agastya Gurukulam has been offering major subjects like, say, Indian ancient mathematics, predominantly from Lilavati, and Sanskritam as one other subject, both spoken Sanskrit, conversational Sanskrit, and the method of memorizing the shlokas so that the kids can easily apply it on the math problems. And the next third subject would be like on Indian history, because all that we have in our history textbooks, at least in the academic curriculum textbooks that we get to see in India, is mainly written by the Westerners. And it doesn't give the Indians the much needed or the much accomplished pride. And yes, our ancestors have done all these. We are unable to say that from the Western authored textbooks. So here in Agastya Gurukulam, we are teaching Indian history the way it will have to be, and it has happened in the past. So the history of victories, as the way Balaji, the founder here, is telling about it. We will also have him in quite in few minutes. And the fourth subject would be like the basic science of, like, say, the Indian science again. The school curriculum is providing science for all the students. However, Agastya Gurukulam science would be in a different way, where we bring a holistic view of math, science, history, and all put together, and also taught by very well-versed people who have a doctorate degree and who have been working in this for more than a decade. And okay, I'm moving on to the slide now. So yeah, a
Bagini,
very hearty welcome.
Balaji and Vijayji have joined, so I just want to let you know that.
Namaste, Balaji.
Namaste,
Balaji
Bagini.
and Mittalji also.
Yeah, I really apologize. There was a confusion with the timing in my mind, so apologize for the slight delay in me joining this call.
Sure, not a problem. So yeah, Balaji ji is here, and we have like about 7 attendees here. Balaji ji, Swaminathan ji will be able to join in a couple of minutes. He's stuck somewhere in the traffic. Apology about that. And you are able to see the screen, right, Balaji ji?
Yes, I'm able to see the screen. Yeah, namaste.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just started, and I was giving a very brief introduction about what AG and the subjects that we are offering during the camp. So I would request you to lead the call from here.
Sure, I can, yeah.
One housekeeping request to all the attendees just before we started with Balaji ji. If you can record all your questions, if you can type it on the chat window, that would be easier for us to answer it. We can either answer it on the go, or if there are the questions being repeated by multiple attendees, we can take it in one go towards the end of the presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah, Balaji, over to you.
Thank you. And I want to also make sure that I understand how much time we have for this, for my part of the webinar, so that we can have enough time. Question
I'll
and
say
answers.
like about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. Will that be sufficient for you?
That'll be sufficient. So yeah, I'll try to shorten stuff to keep it to 15 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. So my name is Sri Balaji, and I'll be helping all of us understand here as to why we want to do this camp, Sankalpa, and what are the aspects of Sankalpa, and how we're going to go about delivering this for your kids. So let's move on. So Sankalpa is a camp that is run in partnership between Agastya Gurukulam and Manthan Vidyashram. And I'll quickly tell you about what Agastya Gurukulam stands for. I think there's a next slide on that. Yeah. So Agastya Gurukulam, in short, is about decolonizing our current education system. As a lot of you might already know, that our education system that was indigenous to India was shut down by the British around the time Macaulay set up his school system within India. And right after that, it's been the system that we've all been trained in, which is not the most optimal and holistic form of education that's been offered to our kids. And the education that is pre-Macaulay had a lot of very interesting aspects that could give certain dimensions to our kids' personality and facets of knowledge that can make our kids more successful in today's world. And also, these aspects are relevant to today's modern definition of success as well. So we want to bring these aspects to our kids to ensure that they are not only successful in the modern world, in the modern sense, meaning they're successful from a financial standpoint, successful from a career standpoint, but also be deep-rooted in who they are from being an Indian, and also understanding the various aspects of the Indic knowledge system. So that's the purpose of Agastya Gurukulam. Let's move on. And through this, we believe that our kids, at the least, can become custodians of our knowledge systems, and at best can become experts in these knowledge systems and participate in new knowledge generation that is based on Indic knowledge. And this, we believe, can actually go on to help us Indians build an alternate economy, so to say, which is actually based on Indic knowledge system. And our Shastras and other aspects of Indic knowledge can really support such a new system of economy, a new system of education, as it has all the dimensions that are required to make a child and a society really successful. And the other important aspect of it is that this imparting this knowledge system can help your kid also gain the samskaras that are required to lead a very calm and peaceful Samskrita Jivanam from the inside as well. Let's move on. So this is a quick slide that shows like the 16 different skills that are required for a student to succeed in today's world in the 20th century. This has been put out by the World Economic Forum, which is an affiliated organization to the United Nations. And you can see the ones marked in blue here, curiosity, initiative and several aspects of what means success today do not have a very solid uh, footing in today's education system in terms of having an infrastructure to teach all this. Some of this have to be developed with a system that promotes all this, and our Indian knowledge systems and the style of education that India had before Macaulay times had all these components built into our uh, education system, and these could also be imparted as part of um, the current education system if we combine what Agastya curriculum teaches with what a typical school does. Moving on. So these are three aspects that I'd like to talk to you about. As you are thinking about involving your kids to be part of this program, you also need to think about the commitment that your kids will have to make themselves successful in this program. This is not a trivial camp that they would just go in and have some fun and come back. This is a deep learning program, and the kids and the parents also have to commit to this for them to achieve success through this program, which means that there are going to be hours and hours of learning, but a lot of fun along with that as well. And we do not want to actually be known as an organization that taught some shlokas and some Gita and wrapped it at that, right? We are going to teach in some ways an alternate education system, which means that so much time has to be dedicated by your kids, but the results are almost guaranteed, in the sense that, you know, with the kind of knowledge that your kids will gain out of this and the knowledge that they would gain in school, these can complement each other to make these kids a lot more successful than a normal school output at this time. So there has to be a commitment for deep learning. There has to be a commitment to build true expertise in areas that we will teach, and we'll talk to you about those areas in a second. And then there has to be a multi-year, multi-level program commitment to this. So we are not going to just stop at this camp, but we're going to continue classes every week, and then have another second level camp at the end of year one, and a third level camp at the end of year two, and so on. So we would love for you to think through all this before you send your kids over to this program, but there are some really good benefits I'll talk to you about in a second. Let's move on to the next slide. So what are the advantages? Number one, as you know, today the key advantage for anyone to succeed in this world is to have self-confidence, confidence in who he is or who she is. And this curriculum is focused on building such confidence from a deep understanding of what kind of culture the kids come from, and what kind of knowledge that the culture possesses, and what kind of knowledge can they absorb from it and shine and be confident about it in this world, along with a sense of history for themselves. And the other key aspect of this is to be able to look at a real world problem, or a problem in mathematics and so on, and be able to have multiple pathways of solving the problem. Today's education is in many ways unidimensional, whether it's in mathematics or in solving real world problems. To be able to have a, a multiple solutions to the same problem is a very interesting approach that our ancestors have taken, and that kind of gives our kids alternate paths to solve problems and make them that much more brilliant, and pave way to their success. This would help the kids build an EQ, an emotional coefficient that is very Indian, because a lot of times through the Western style of education, you kind of build a very different kid than what you want in your kid, meaning to be Indian and to be able to handle scenarios in a very Indian way, kind of builds a very specific difference in the kid that the kid can exhibit in the real world. And this is something that this course is something that can help the kid be that person who has a very different way of solving problems, and also be built with the emotional intelligence that can make the kid successful while in the process of solving those problems. And at the end of the day, this also helps us protect the Indian knowledge system, and also helps us retain symbols that are Indian. Today, Indian symbols are also going away along with our education. So to be able to retain those Indian symbols, I don't want to go into this given that we only have like about 15 minutes to cover my section. So I just wanted to give you these advantages as well. And this is the camp timings or the schedule for the camp between April 15th and the 29th of the same month. Currently, we are planning on doing this camp in the Chinmaya Mission Thamarepakam facility, which has got boarding, lodging, and appropriate classrooms and conference hall for us to conduct this event. Let's move on.
Sure.
Anything else that I need to add? Please let me know, Jayashree ji, if I'm missing anything on.
Sure, ji. Yeah.
So moving on. So these are the aspects that will be taught in the camp. Sanskrit knowledge is really essential to unleash the power of what we have in our Shastras. So to start your kids with Sanskrit knowledge, even though they may not have any or they may have some, the idea is to teach them deep Sanskrit knowledge that will include teaching them some Sanskrit literature. Indian mathematics, a lot of times this is wrongly named as Vedic math. So what we are teaching is not Vedic math, which is actually not really Vedic. So we are teaching the original mathematics of what was taught before Macaulay times. That is not just Vedic alone, but it has continued. We have had a rich tradition of mathematics that continued after the Vedic period, and all the key aspects of those mathematics from the original books will be taught through this. Similarly, we will be teaching Indian science, whether it's Jyotisham or astronomy or Rasayana Shastram or chemistry, and other aspects that of Indian sciences that need to be taught will also be covered through this coursework. We'll also be teaching them the right version of history that makes our kids feel like they belong to a civilization of victories than a civilization that is lost to invaders in the past, so which actually builds their self-confidence up in a significant way. And this aspect of history in many cases is missing in our current school system, and that has created a kind of sense in the kids to look up to the West for every little aspect of gaining their confidence from, right? And then we will also be teaching them about temple architecture and temple engineering, and the importance of temple as a center of economy, education, and healthcare, and so on, which kind of helps them understand the real significance of temples and how they were built, and the architecture around it, and so on. We'll also be teaching them a very important aspect of learning within India, which is actually martial arts. Some of you may have heard about Kalari, which is actually the precursor for a lot of the martial arts that are available in this world today, including Kung Fu and Karate and so on. So we'll be teaching them Kalari at this event, and then we will also be helping them appreciate some of our fine arts like music and dance at this event. So I'd like to take a minute to talk about the significance of Indic languages. This includes Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Telugu, and of course Sanskritam, right? So Indic languages are more perfect from a grammatical standpoint than English, and that gets your kids to think at a word level than at a sentence level. While I'm talking in English, I'm just thinking at a sentence level, but while I'm talking in any Indian language, you'll have to do thinking at the word level. And today we are actually getting our kids to be less effective with their language skills by making them think at the sentence level rather than making them experts in our own languages, because our own languages have become second and third languages in schools today. So for them to get a deep understanding of Sanskritam or Tamil or Telugu, whatever be your mother tongue, that only makes them that much more brilliant, right? And we are losing out on that opportunity. We want to bring that back to have them gain deeper understanding of grammar in our own languages. And this also builds a very good ability to learn other languages. For instance, my son is learning Spanish, and he's like way ahead of the rest of the class, because his ability to think of a language in a very structured manner, because he understands Sanskrit well, makes him that much more efficient in learning other languages. And at the end of the day, knowing a language in a deep way, especially an Indian language, builds that self-confidence in our kids. So moving on. And by the way, very important thing, knowing Sanskrit can help you learn programming languages much quicker, because Sanskrit is built in a very similar style. Especially Sanskrit Vyakaranam by Panini is no different than having a language specification for a compiler. And that kind of promotes that kind of logical thinking about language. So let's move on. I know I may have only like 2 or 3 minutes here. So, we've had curriculum that has been taught to kids over some time now. Some of our kids in private have learned it over like 10, 12 years. And, we've been running this program for close to a year now. And we've gained these kids have gained significantly out of such learning. And they've been able to break away from the standard crowd like thought process, and being able to build their own hypothesis about like any aspect of news or any worldview that's put in front of them. So that kind of builds that emotional intelligence in the kids to not just go with the rest of the group if there is something that needs to be understood in a slightly different manner. And that kind of helps resist pop culture, from taking over your kids' mind space. And so they can assess facts and assert the facts that they know. So these are very positive aspects of building that self-confidence aspect in our kid. Moving on.
Sure. Thank you, Balaji ji. Swaminathan ji is the founder and the person who is running the school here at Manthan Vidyashram, Chennai. He's running a little late due to traffic, and hence I'm going to present his part. So his school is a very different school here in Chennai, in the very heart of the city. And what he does is he offers the school offers a very holistic level of learning experience to children, where they cover all the main aspects of like intellectual development, physical and emotional development, social and cultural development, part of learning experience in the school as such. And he has been like with the school, he has started the school, and he has been running the school and associated with lot many people in the academia, like for more than 2 decades now. And we look up to him for all the experience from his learnings, and he is helping us on the Sankalpa camp that we are conducting here in Chennai. And this is myself, Jayashri, who has recently joined Agastya Gurukulam, and I have a daughter who is a 10-year-old, and she goes to a school here. But then I feel the school teaching is not focusing more to do with the traditional part of where we come from, like going back to the roots is what I feel that the school is missing. So when I initially heard about Sankalpa and about Agastya Gurukulam, I'm quite excited about it. Why? Because, like the way Balaji ji mentioned, be it Sanskritam or Ghanitam or the science or the history that we have to know, if it is taught in the right way, kids are like a sponge. They absorb it and take it to the future generation in a very neat way. And we carry the pride of India and our ancestors with us for a long time than looking up to the West for anything and everything like what the Indian education currently is providing to the school kids. And I would move on to this part, which is Sankalpa. Just before doing that, I would request one. Okay. I would request Vijayaji. Vijayaji, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Vijayaji is one of our directors at Agastya Gurukulam, and she's here. We would request her to share her experience as she has raised decolonized kids herself. Yeah, please, Ji, if we can hear a few words from you.
Namaste, Vijaya Vishwanathan here. I actually am from Chennai, but I also come to Philadelphia in the US for a few months every year. Like Balaji said, I keep it brief. Like Balaji said, one thing that you can do by giving them this sort of education is pride, pride in their identity, pride in who they are. But also, so that is one way from through history and all of that. But there is the other way, which is also self effulgent in some ways, because, for example, when you study Chanda Shastra, which is prosody in Sanskrit, and see how structured our chandas is in Sanskrit versus prosody in English with with the meters, with the syllables are either stressed or unstressed in English meters, and it's sort of a bit random, and they have meters like iambic and anapestic and things like that. But when you study that and then you juxtapose it to what you study in Sanskrit, the kids themselves are amazed by how structurally sound Sanskritam systems are. So that is something that that becomes very clear to them without us having to say, that this is great. And so this whole effort of Agastya is nothing emotional. We are doing this because it has prayojanam, practical value to our kids. It's not anything emotional where we are saying, oh, our heritage is great and our languages are great, and therefore we should we should study them. Yes, we should be custodians of all of this. We should be custodians only because it has benefits and has relevance even today. And that's the reason we want to Balaji's taught his own kids that I have two boys that I home educated in. I wish I had a resource like Agastya, honestly, because I had to go looking for find teachers myself, learn about these systems myself, and then seek out these teachers and the systems, because I myself was not educated in this way. So essentially, the motivation for starting Agastya is also that this has Indic knowledge systems have so much to offer in terms of careers and job opportunities later in the future, where you can actually be innovative. In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying, this Ayurveda Panchanadi, how they take the pulse. Somebody is actually making a Fitbit out of it. And next thing you'll know is that Apple will buy them out. So these are all practical sort of success stories. They are not some pie in the sky or some nostalgia of yesteryears that we are trying to relive. So I just briefly give you my older one is homeschooled. is he's a Carnatic musician, learned Sanskrit, and learned Vyakaranam, which is Sanskrit grammar and linguistics, and is right now at Stanford University as a freshman, studying computer science and trying to see how certain things that he's learned, structural things that he's learned in Sanskrit, how they can be applied. He's looking at machine learning, language processing, emotions. In fact, there was somebody who's called him to ask him about whether he can come up with a machine learning program where ragas in Carnatic music can be identified and the emotions be identified with it. So what kind of emotion does it evoke? So when you hear the raga Karahara Priya, whatever, right? What emotion does it evoke in a person, and can we capture that? And now if he's able to do that, the next thing is, Google and Apple and all, they want all of this, because right now we can translate and transliterate first and then translate, but we are not able to capture the subtleties of emotion in a person's voice. I don't know, it's hard to tell if somebody's angry, or the miscommunication that happens in text messaging also, right? We don't know what the bhava is of the person. And now if you're able to do all of this, these are really valuable sort of technologies, so these sorts of things can and the reason they want him is because he knows he knows computer programming, he knows some computer science, and then he knows music, and so and then he can read Sanskrit texts and separate out words and meanings and things like that. So you get opportunities like this that no one actually, he's just a freshman, he's just a 19-year-old, but the fact that he's able to get these opportunities is because of his very unique background. So that's just one example. The other example is, he came back home and he told me that one of his classmates was having trouble, and he was just trying to console him, and he said, you're such a different kid because you're just so wholesome compared to the people I have known. And I say this not because he's an excellent human being. It is just that this sort of education gives you that perspective. Yeah. So what I want to leave you with is that these are very practical learnings. They have a lot of relevance in today's job market, in today's education, in the Western system, in the mainstream. Yeah. My kids have never been to school, and the first time my son was going to sort of mainstream educational institution was Stanford, and he's doing phenomenally well. So and the reason for that is the sort of like Balaji mentioned, this emotional quotient that also gets developed along with the intellectual quotient. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Vijayaji. That is quite inspiring about your kids and the way you brought them up. And okay, so now here, with respect to the camp as such here that is happening here in Chennai, Sankalpa is happening between April 15th and 29th. And the fees for it is calculated as rupees 25,000, which includes the GST amount also. And the parents who are interested can approach us. We have a registration form for that, so you can have your questions also asked there. But now, if you have any questions, if you can just raise your hand, and so that we can unmute you and you can have your questions answered. Okay, upper has okay. Sangeeta ji, hello.
Hello, I have actually unmuted him. He's self-muted.
Oh, okay.
So, Apar, you have to unmute yourself and you can ask us a question.
Or you can type the question as well if you're unable to do that
Yeah,
part here. You
yeah.
can type it on the
Exactly.
chat window.
One question that was there was that somebody asked. Looks like there are a lot of topics that were talked about in the presentation. So and they seem quite in depth. So not the 15 days is not enough to learn everything. So they were like, the question was, is it an ongoing program, or is it how does the kid keep learning everything? So to answer that, I think I can answer that as well. So yeah, this is actually just a kickoff, a 2-week camp to kick stuff off. But we will have online classes going forward, and even in-person classes, depending upon how many people we have in a particular area, and so that it's a continual learning for them. Apar, if you can unmute yourself or type in your question, then we can answer. I don't see any other questions from anyone. Okay, I see one question from him. Okay, that's the coronavirus concern he's raised. There's going on right now. Jeshi, do you want to take that?
With the coronavirus part and the Sankalpa camp as such, it is a residential camp, and with the virus, we don't. We understand that the parents do have a concern here, but then the ashram is very hygienic, and we are also planning to have it instead of being a residential camp for this time alone, just because of the coronavirus thingy happening around. It can also be considered like a 7 to evening 5 kind of thing camp. Maybe Swaminathan ji or Balaji ji want to add over here.
Yeah, that's an option that we are considering, just in case the situation worsens. Then Swaminathan ji is monitoring the situation really closely, and if in case we are not able to do this as a residential camp because of the fact that the coronavirus spread is just continuing to become bigger and bigger, we will have the option of this being a regular school-like setup where the kids would come in the morning and go back in the evening, and this would be done from the Manthan campus itself. So this will actually restrict the number of hours the kids are in the camp, and have it at the Manthan school. But this is something that we don't have a clear idea on at this time. So if things change, Swaminathan ji will make that announcement.
Any other questions that we have?
No, I don't see any other questions, but we'll just give them a few more minutes if somebody's typing it or someone has raised a hand. No, I don't see anything.
So one more thing I want to mention here is, just in case it becomes a 9 to 5 type camp, not 9 to 5, maybe 7 to 6 or type camp, the fees will also change accordingly, because the kids will not have to stay overnight and so on. And I would like to mention here that these fees are actually just covering our costs, as we have some really good teachers coming from different parts of India to teach our kids. So teachers are coming all the way from Bombay and other places, from IIT Bombay or Bangalore and so on, and we'll have to pay for their travel and stay and stuff like that, and that's why the number is where it is currently. And Agastya Gurukulam is a non-profit organization. We are all successful professionals that are running it, and this is not in any way regular scenario with like a profit-minded approach to education that you see typically in this world today. So we want to reduce the number to whatever the expenses are, just in case we happen to switch the location to a day only type location.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Okay, there's another question. age group for the camp. Right now, the age group is ages 11 to 16, 15, 16.
But we can make exceptions if we think your kid can, let's say, manage the curriculum based on some conversation with the kid. We understand that the kid has the ability to get in. So even the kid is 1 year younger or something like that, we can make exceptions here and there.
Yeah, there's another question. My son does his daily Anushadhanam and Samitadhanam, but will he be able to perform that in the camp without feeling awkward with other children around? Yeah, that should be not a problem at all. It's great if other kids can see and learn from him. That's he can set an example for other kids.
Exactly. So some of us will already be doing that. We'll encourage that so he can perform that along with us. The Samita Dhanam, I'm not sure who else would be doing that among the kids, but it'll be a very good example that the kid can set for other kids.
Okay, that's all the questions I have right now. I see. I'm going to give another minute. If somebody has anything else, please feel free to raise your hand. And okay, I think that's it. Jayshree, you can wrap it up.
Okay, sure. Thank you,
Thank you.
Samita ji. So, okay, here we have the website link for registering for Sankalpa. And also you can see about our other products at Agastya Gurukulam in the link provided. And for any further questions, maybe you get to ask, like you can reach out to us at this email ID, info@agastyagurukulam.org. You can also follow on our Facebook and Twitter page. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jayshree and everybody else.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dhanyawada.
Dhanyawada.